And you can also do what I call practicing inner being, and that's what we're going to practice today. It's be our last activity of the day today. Inner being is a concept that comes from Thich Nhat Hanh. And basically, he defines it as knowing and acknowledging that we interdependently coexist. And when we practice inner being, we honor the interdependence we have with one another and all other aspects of our planet. So basically, we understand that we're not alone. And not only do we understand that we're not alone, we act accordingly. This can be really helpful because I think often people struggle because they feel alone or isolated or separate. But when we practice mindfulness, and specifically when we practice interbeing, we recognize and understand our relationship with others. And here's a practice you can do. I'm going to model it for you, but you can do it with almost anything. But I like to call this one the inner being of our morning beverages. So you can do this as well, right alongside me. But for me, one of the things that I love most, it's a core part of my routine every morning, is I have a cup of hot tea in the morning. So I'm going to imagine the inner being of how that cup of tea arrived to me. So if I were to sit and think about how that cup of tea comes to me in the morning, a few things become very clear to me right away. First of all, I think back on how the leaves got to be produced for that tea. So I'm going to go all the way back to the origin of the tea leaves. So I can imagine that somewhere in the world, people are growing the tea plants that are going to produce the tea leaves, are going to become my tea. So I can imagine into the people that are tending to those plants, planting the seeds, watering them, nurturing the tea plants, and picking the leaves and processing them, turning them into tea leaves. I can also imagine all the animals that are a part of that, right? So there's insects, other animals that are moving in amount around the tea leaves, supporting them to grow. The soil itself that is nurturing those tea plants with nutrients from the soil, the cooperation with the sun and rain that's bringing necessary light and water to those plants. So already there's a lot of different people and energies and entities that are supporting my tea leaves to come about. But I can imagine once those tea leaves have been processed and dried, then they get packaged. And once they've been packaged, then they need to be transported somewhere. So now I can imagine all the different people and entities that are responsible for making sure that that tea gets packaged and shipped appropriately. So it goes from a processing plant to probably a distribution center, and from the distribution center probably to another distribution center, and then finally from that distribution center to my home. That's hundreds of people that have been associated with that step in the process of my tea, right? All the different people that were required to make sure that the tea in its little tin arrives at my home. And then I can imagine all the different people that helped beyond the transportation of my tea that are cooperating every day in my ability to have my tea. So there are people that are making sure that the water is clean that I use to brew my tea, and that I have access to electricity to enable me to heat up the pot to brew my tea, and so on and so forth. So you can imagine right away, that's a lot of different people and energies supporting the inner being of my tea, supporting me to be able to have that tea in the morning. And when I think about it in that way, I can't help but feel a deep amount of gratitude and kind of awe at how many different energies supported me to be able to have something that I enjoy so much. And when I remember that, I feel connected to the larger world and I feel better. So I'll pause for a moment and give you a chance to practice the inner being of your morning beverage, whatever it is. Try to imagine into all the different people and animals and the earth that are contributing to it. I know that's not enough time, but it's just a starting point. An example I always love to share is that Einstein I believe, was practicing inner being. He didn't call it that. He called it gratitude, which is another way I think of thinking about inner being. And he had a goal, it is said, of saying thank you 100 times every day. So he made it a point to say thank you all the time, acknowledging all the different ways that he received things from other people. I have tried this. I have yet to reach 100 times a day. I continue to make it my goal. But just imagine what it would be like to go around and notice all the different places where people are supporting you and saying thank you, either to them directly or just thank you in your mind. So thanking the people that are maintaining the roads or are keeping electricity on in our offices and other spaces, the people that created your computer. Just imagine acknowledging all the different contributions that have led to the things that you're experiencing. Einstein attributed these habit of saying thank you to some of the reasons why he was able to tap into the knowledge and the insights that he had. So it's just something to consider and play with. The other side of inner being is recognizing our impact on others. So we can recognize and appreciate the impact, the positive impact people have had on us. But the other side of the inner being is recognizing and understanding the importance of our impact on others. So another way of practicing inner being is by being a good steward of the earth, trying to have as least an impact as possible on the earth as we live our lives, being an embodied educator. So acknowledging the impact that our energy and mood has on our students and making a choice to be different and trying to be more positive and grounded and supportive to our students. It's acknowledging the impact on our collective energy when we put negative energy out into the world rather than positive energy out into the world. So inner being is a great place for us to kind of stop our talk for today, because that's really, I think, where we're at as a world. The pandemic helped us to remember this, that we are all interconnected. And so when we remember that we're all interconnected, then we also remember our responsibility to take that interconnection seriously.